Darts is notorious for being a mental game. It really doesn't require much in terms of physical fitness, and the stature and size of the world's top players can kind of give that away. But by no means does this mean that they aren't mentally fit. In fact, I would go as far as to say that darts players are some of the most mentally fit athletes, yes, you heard that right, athletes, in the world. Their margin of error is tiny. The entire sport is about stillness and keeping an internal homeostasis. And as the great late Sid Waddell once put it, the atmosphere is so tense that if Elvis walked in carrying a bag of chips, you could hear the vinegar on them sizzle. What a great man. So with all that being said, today we're going to go through the top 3 mental strategies used by most of the top players in the world to help take your darts to the next level. And stay tuned as I announce the winner for my custom set of darts from the last video towards the end of this video. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's Danny here for Dynamite Darts and welcome back. Today we got a bit of a different video from our usual format and we're getting into some mental strategies used by some of the pros at the top with some real life examples, specifically what they do, whether that before, during and after matches to help them stay on tip-top shape when it comes to their mental side of darts. Now, as I mentioned, darts is an extremely mental sport, and if you don't believe me, try play darts for more than 1 or 2 hours. If you've ever had a session go that long, you'll understand just how exhausted you feel. And let's face it, you're not tired from them 5 or 6 steps up and back to the board every throw. What you're actually tired about is the amount of concentration and stability mentally that you need to keep up to play your best darts. So the first strategy we're going to talk about today is visualizing success. Now, visualization as a tool has been used by top athletes all around the world for the past 100 or so years. This is something that can be used completely outside of your practice. And some of the best examples I've seen of this is MVG talking specifically how he would visualize lifting trophies, hitting big checkouts and winning games. He'd step into the version of himself, almost Tony Robbins-esque in the way in which he delivers this, and begins to feel the emotions of what it would feel like to win, close his eyes, lie down for a few minutes and literally visualize shot by shot how a match will go. And the beautiful thing about this is there's plenty of research to back up the visualization. It's not just this hokey pokey stuff, it actually works. And one of the big reasons I think it works so well for darts is because darts is a mental game. So if you can get your mindset in a place where you can visualize hitting those big shots, getting those victories, and also visualize the emotion you feel while doing so, because in your head more than likely you're not going to feel as nervous as you are thinking about doing the thing than you are when it comes to actually getting up there in front of a crowd, just in front of yourself, whoever it is, and throwing at the board. And as is often said, it is very difficult to achieve something that you don't believe you can. So with that being said, a very simple way of implementing visualization into your darting practice is as follows. Take just 5 minutes before your next practice and I want you to think about these 3 things. Number 1, I want you to visualize a visit to the board, but only think about how you feel after the last dart has left your hand. I want you to feel that you are calm, that you are content with how you threw, and that you feel almost excited to collect your darts and get back up to the oche for your next throw. The second thing I want you to think about is actually to take 1 step further and think about specifically what you threw. And I would think about hitting 180s, hitting big checkouts, or hitting doubles to win the leg. Again, where is your hand? What position is your body in? Feel all of these things and visualize every single thing going right, because the beautiful thing about doing this in your head is you can visualize these things going correct. And lastly, working 1 step backwards is to visualize your pre-shot routine. Visualize exactly how you step up to the oche. This is something I touch on a little bit later. How you set your feet, your hands, your head, before you even go to pick up the dart. Leading on from that into strategy number 2, we have our pre-game / pre-shot ritual. This is by far one of the most important mental aspects of darts. Darts is a game of replication. You need to be able to do the same thing over and over again. The variables don't change much in darts. The only thing that really changes is the pressure that comes from the crowd and also how you're feeling on a given day. In terms of some pre-game rituals, this is different for every player. This might be some superstitions people have or just some things they like to do to get themselves in the zone. I picked 2 of the most famous examples here with Dimitri Van den Bergh and Wayne Mardle. Both of these guys are known for their boisterous and extravagant entrances, with Dimmy dancing to Happy by Pharrell Williams, always doing his jig on stage, and with Wayne Mardle having possibly one of the greatest darts entrances of all time. Both of these talk openly about how actually doing this helps them feel calm before the game, and if they didn't do those things, for Wayne specifically, he talks about, if I don't get to get into character, I feel like I'm not playing. For Dimmy as well, if he doesn't get to do his dance, I'm sure it will affect his game a lot. These aren't just superstitions, these are rituals that cause a mental shift to get your body ready to play darts. Now, 1 step further than this is having a pre-shot routine. And I'm going to again pick out 2 examples here of people with memorable pre-shot routines. But again, the next thing with a pre-shot routine is to set yourself up for your throw to make sure that you can repeat it just like you have on the practice board. One of the biggest examples that comes to mind here as of late, who's had really good success in the past year winning his first major in the UK Open, is Andrew Gilding. Everybody knows exactly what his walk up to the Yoki is like. He's tiptoeing on a tightrope as he gets to the edge of the Yoki, where he places his feet down and slowly but surely picks up his dart. Now, as my own coach Daniel has really taught me with this, the goal is to get your feet lined up, your head lined up, and then pick up the dart. A lot of people will pick up the dart before they even get to the Yoki, before they plant their foot, before they plant their head. So think feet, head, and then pick up the dart. Another pre-shot routine that's kind of strange, but it's kind of more of his throw, is Mensur Suljovic. His throw and his pre-shot routine was more exaggerated in recent years. Now he's kind of dulled it back a little bit, but you'll find on his first dart particularly, he does really extend and flick that dart till he gets a feel that he knows it's time to throw the dart. Kind of odd, everyone knows his throw, but if he didn't do this, you'd find a massive difference with his play. And for yourself, a simple example of implementing this might be to have a specific song you listen to before you play. Might be having a specific warm-up routine. I find that some players, they have to hit certain doubles or checkouts before they go and play as well. That's a big thing. Or I can be doing something like the visualization and making sure that's a staple before every session and kind of linking those two things together. Visualization can also be done on our third point, which I'll get into in a second, which is kind of looking backwards at your performance and almost self-reflecting. Finally, that brings you to point number 3, which is being able to look back and reflect on and learn from your mistakes. I think the biggest example in our recent history when it comes to this is the likes of Bully Boy Michael Smith. It took him years to win his first major after falling at the final hurdle a number of times, and thankfully after winning his first major of last year, he bounced back straight away within 6 months and found himself to be a world champion. He talks freely about the end of 2016 where things really didn't go right for his career. He's at the top, he's a former youth world champion, but he never really broke through to the level that we all knew he could play. He would get the finals, he would get the semi-finals, but on the day he just couldn't find what he needed to find to get the win. So there's a lot of soul searching needed from Michael, and anybody who's played darts at all understands the importance of this. You can't give up. Barney talks about this a lot. He says you'll be successful in darts if you just stick at it. That can be said for a lot of things in life, but I think you understand specifically the context of that with darts. 1 week you'll be throwing a fantastic average for you, and then by your own standards the next week you'll be throwing something completely different and you'll be questioning what exactly went wrong, and you'll try and pick apart every single detail. The biggest takeaway point here is we all make mistakes in this game. We're all going to have dips in our form. Just focus on being consistent and sticking with it for the course. If someone like Michael Smith, which a lot of players have done in the recent past when the going gets tough, have left the sport or have dropped off, never have had that beautiful leg, this year's world final between himself and MVG, and we'd never have a Bully Boy as a world champion. So some simple ways to help with this can be positive self-talk. This can be during the game or after the game in a reflective circumstance, or affirmations. Things like this really do help. And you'll find a lot of players are implementing this sort of stuff into their game now, particularly with the crowds getting bigger and bigger and more hostile. It becomes a very important part of the game. So a simple way for you to implement this into your game without letting anybody know, and this again can be in-game, in practice, or out of practice, is in-game. Well, there's 2 things you can do. One is have some positive self-talk between every throw. For some people that could be a very kind of old-fashioned, come on Danny, let's go. Whatever way works for you, it doesn't leave yourself too frustrated or too angry at yourself, because again, that's never a good state of mind to be in with darts. And secondly, after a shot that goes bad, really focusing on just making things right and kind of reflecting with an affirmation. It could be something as simple as I trust my ability to take me through this game. Something along those lines. You can make it up what works for you. And out of practice or after the game, then that could be reflecting on mistakes, not dwelling on the fact that you may have had a bad day, because they are bound to happen in this sport. Also, a nice way I like to reframe is that whenever I throw a bad dart, I always say I'm always 1 dart closer to my next 180. It's a nice reframe and it helps a lot when it comes to practice, particularly when things aren't going well during the day. So there you have it. They're my top 3 strategies used by the best darts players in the world to keep them mentally fit and on top of their game. What I want to know is, do you do any of these already? And if you don't, which of these do you think you're going to implement from now on, and which ones do you think you could never see yourself doing? Also, are there any other ones that you do that I don't know about or didn't mention? Please let me know below. And as I've already mentioned, darts is an extremely challenging mental game, and it would be rude to not mention who I believe to be my top 3 mentally tough players of all time. If I have to go off the top of my head and give my 3 straight away, I'm going Phil Taylor, MVG, and the late great Eric Bristow. There you go. Who would you put in your top 3? Also, thanks to everybody for the support of the last video. If you want to see who won the giveaway, I'm going to leave the name on the screen here. Congrats. Drop me a DM on Instagram and I'll get those darts shipped over to you as soon as possible. As always, I appreciate all the comments on that video. If we get this video to 200 likes, I'm going to be doing another giveaway in my next video. And as always, until next time.